Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. So glad to be back with you here. It is Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. So much going on. I will start with my disclaimer. Hopefully I won't be able to, or have to use it much longer, but this video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So thanks so much for coming back on the channel. I want to thank everyone who supports the channel. You make it happen. I'm so grateful. And yes, I thank you so much. Every single donation, news tip, prayer just means the world and keeps this channel going. So let's jump in. We're going to just jump right in. Well, I think definitely with the news, for sure. There's so much of it. We have the little issue of, the possibility of this. And we have so much going on right now. So I'm going to get in there. But I want to talk first and just say this. Prayer waves are so important right now. Okay, we have 61 days till the inauguration. It is paramount to pray. And I just want to put out there that for these 61 days, we know right now that there is a huge likelihood of some very big disturbance that's going to come between now and then. Prayer is paramount and prayer works, okay? And God listens and is very attuned to people who are praying and putting out that heart resonance and that pineal gland quantum entanglement, okay, with God. And I just want to put out there for people who are, warriors for the Prince of Peace that, the incredible thing is that, redemption and resurrection exist simultaneously, okay? That once you commit, you are already seated next to that throne. And so it's a quantum entanglement of you with God. It's already both happening simultaneously. And the actions that you are meant to do here on earth right now is how you live out this incredible action that God is putting in you. And you are absolutely empowered to do the works of Christ. And so pray, pray, pray in person, especially with family and fellowship and friends, to protect what's going forward with the incredible Trump America First team and all of the incredible warriors he's putting together, but also worldwide. Okay, as we have the G20 summit meeting in Rio de Janeiro yesterday and today. Interestingly, we have Biden and Trudeau missing from the official picture, which puts Xi in the center, right? We have Biden wandering off into the rainforest yesterday after talking to Xi, and of course we had, right after Trump met with Biden, then Biden met with Xi, then we get the escalation of here we have now the U.S. and NATO, U.S. made but NATO force ATACMs and other systems going into, being launched from Ukraine. Okay, it went from we're going to okay the use of the ATACM missiles to them going into Ukraine to yesterday. 6 missiles going in last night and being 5 of them shot down, 1 hitting a base inside of Moscow, inside of, Russia. And the intelligence is saying from different sources that the huge amounts of Russian officials have gone to the Ural Mountains, have gone into bunker continuity of government type situations, and we're going to get into that in a minute. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here because there's so much to say. Okay, but that's why I'm saying prayer is paramount between now and then for what they might plan that they could do on our own soil. It could be globalists inside, call from inside the house to do something here in the U.S. To create an FEFE. All right, so we'll jump in there in a minute. But as I said, with the prayer becomes, put on the armor of God and march forward with your direction. Action is so paramount, and so on come the glasses. So I want to talk about action here because we're having this fight around the FBI director nomination. And this is huge because it's between Kash Patel mostly and Mike Rogers. Those are the 2 premier candidates. And the FBI is so paramount right now because They are they're fighting right now in the House. The Dems are trying to fight to codify that the FBI will be put into law, that the FBI must be the body, okay, that that vets and vets who is eligible, okay, vets Trump's nominee picks for the cabinet and the positions, all of it. And there's so many cabinet members. There's so much going on. It's been a while since I've been on. You know, as the ongoing rollout or the assault of what's happened with the biowarfare from the big pharma assault on the U.S. and the West. You know, in my life, there's so many people who are so ill right now, and it's just an ongoing situation that I'm dealing with. But what the FBI pick is so huge that it must be Kash Patel and not Mike Rogers. And Mike Benz has done a great job laying this out. If you go to @MikeBenzCyber, you can see all his threads that have to do with Mike Rogers, why he should not be head of the FBI, why we must have Kash Patel. So the action point here, and I'm going to keep saying this throughout the video, is you need to call your senators and let them know that you do not support Mike Rogers being the FBI pick. You need to call Trump that they can't fight Kash Patel coming in because, and I would say also, I'm praying and on the prayer wave that Trump really remove the nomination of Marco Rubio. I've tried to stay open-minded, but the more I look into Marco Rubio, as we have in the past, he looked like he was on a redemption arc, but he really could be such a problem in such connections that if it was a combo of Mike Rogers and the FBI and Marco Rubio, they could cause so much trouble for Trump being for his nominees going in, for what could happen with the State Department, the ongoing deep state, etc. So I want to talk about what Mike Benz has to say about Mike Rogers and the FBI if he was to go there. And again, I'll just mention again, the House is the Dems are attempting to try to codify that the FBI must be involved in vetting of Trump's nominees, meaning always going forward in the future, but all they care about right now is Trump, and then they'll uncodify it later. But the situation here is that we'll have 4 years of scandals. Okay, they'll bring up scandals about everybody. Tomorrow there's going to be in the House the ethics committee meeting to vote about whether or not to release the Matt Gaetz ethics report. Right, that's all going on right now. And so if we get Mike Rogers in there, let's look at who he is. Okay, he was, of course, running for Senate in Michigan, and he lost the race. And then they're trying to push him into the FBI situation, so much so that the Senate has come forward. Okay, and Thune is playing a game where he's saying, we're going to, we're doing a great job here in the Senate trying to block Elizabeth Warren's massive push to get all the judges for lifetime appointments into the appeals courts and everything that they had never confirmed. Thune saying, no, we're going to slow it to a halt in the Senate so that they can't confirm these judges. That's great. But also in the Senate, what's coming out is that they're trying to basically say, if you will not have Kash Patel as FBI director and you'll allow Mike Rogers to go in, then we will confirm Matt Gaetz as AG. And I'm just calling him AG Gaetz right now because he is, I'm going to link a great article at revolver.news about what Gaetz could do as the AG, but it's so massive and everything comes down to, of course, Trump, the president, is the chief, administrator when it comes to what the AG is able to do. The top legal person in charge is the president, and then Gaetz, as the AG, can dismantle everything. But we need him in there. But they're trying to use it as leverage to have it be that Kash Patel won't be head of the FBI. Why Kash Patel is so amazing is, I mean, if you've ever read Government Gangsters, his book, or seen the film, I'll link it below how you could watch the film if that's your chosen thing, or buy the book. But he basically has identified all the deep state players in the FBI and in the government, and how to dismantle that using the FBI. And so he is primary. He worked under Devin Nunes, who of course Paul Ryan hobbled and made him recuse himself during the whole Russiagate thing. And it turns out that Mike Rogers was really involved in the whole Russiagate thing. Okay, so let's get into that. So in the Senate, Mike Rogers, he was the former head of the Intel Committee as Russiagate progressed. Okay, he didn't interrupt it. He was part of it. And so he is basically in the deep state realm. And so we're going to continue looking at that as we go through this video, because all of this is so interconnected with the Pilgrim Society, which is Mike Rogers. Okay, I'm going to put forward that he is attached to the Pilgrim Society. He's very attached to the Atlantic Council. He's on the board of directors, okay, of the Atlantic Council. Okay, and let's just a couple important things here about the Atlantic Council is it is run by the both the King Privy Council, but also the Pilgrim Society. Okay, so we get the Atlantic Council the biggest funder is Viktor Pinchuk, the oligarch out of Ukraine, right, where they just sent the ATACMs, and NATO at war with Russia. We have Putin today putting out very publicly, as he continues to do, what his plans are, and signing a new directive regarding first response nuclear option. Okay, just as the U.S. and the U.K. has that, that he's saying now that if you use the U.S. or NATO weapons and satellite systems to attack Russia, that we can use a first response nuclear attack. Basically saying, back off, stop it. And so it's escalating. It's escalating, and it's being done by out of the G20, okay, as they're in Rio de Janeiro, and Kamala Harris is somehow in Hawaii this week. So Biden's in the Amazon, wandering around, and Kamala Harris is vacationing in Hawaii, right? After spending her $1.5 billion, $2.5 million to Oprah. And nope, who's doing this Ukraine thing, right? We know it's Blinken, it's the Trotskyites. They're behind so much of this. And so what we need to understand is that Trump has not chosen any Trotskyites, okay, in his cabinet. No cartel Babylon members that we can see so far, although iffy. But Marco Rubio, we don't want him as Secretary of State at all. Hoping that could get revoked, that withdrawn that nomination. However, okay, going on with Mike Rogers and the Atlantic Council is literally run by the Pilgrim Society. I've talked about it on this channel ad nauseum. Okay, that is basically the city of London. It's the banksters, the Rothschild Rockefeller combo, that have come together to annihilate the U.S., try to steal everything, and have done and are doing. They're now in the U.K. We have Keir Starmer now going after the farmers there, literally putting into legislation that they're going to seize the land of farmers for generations, hundreds of years of farmers in the UK, because they are hoarding the land. And this is what happens when you get something like the shadow cabinet, okay, that exists in the Parliament in the UK, that they are now trying to put forward, going forward against Trump in the US, where they're saying we need to have a shadow cabinet against President Trump going forward, like they do in the Parliament of the UK, as if the US is somehow at all operating not as a constitutional republic, but a parliament. And no, we are not. But that's what the 100 people out of Keir Starmer's Pilgrim Society run Labour Party sent over to the US just prior to the election have been advising the Dems to do as they create their deep state army to push back against Trump. And so we'll get there. There's so much to say. But Lord Robertson, who is the president of the Pilgrim Society, okay, he is also the director at DLA Piper, where, of course, Doug Emhoff works. Okay, he is the one behind running Kamala Harris and the failed campaign there, but also coming in to now try to put in this situation of this shadow cabinet to go against President Trump. And so it's a roundabout situation. I'm back to the FBI. I'm back to Kash Patel being the FBI director because Mike Rogers, okay, he's on the board of directors of the Atlantic Council, all the people I just mentioned who run that. It's NATO, it is the endless wars, it's the neocon machine. Okay, and it is about just gobbling up everything. It's what they call uh, endless imperialism. Endless imperialism. It has no aim except to gobble up every resource they can get for the globalist banksters. It's not about actual real estate necessarily. It's about capturing all the infrastructure, all the means of production for them. Okay, and as we saw, as I mentioned before, in the UK, now they're going after the land. There's going to be massive protests in the UK and London, massive farmers, the tractors, the whole thing, like they did in the Netherlands and in Europe, where there's going to be huge protests now ensuing from this. And if you look at the destruction of England and the UK, you see in Ireland, you see what they're planning for here. Okay, the Muslimification of the country, and now going after the land and shutting down production of food. And of course, here they're doing that as well. And it's all tying into all these emergencies that are now happening simultaneously with this announcement of we're just openly going to go for World War III scenario between now and the Trump inauguration. And so, okay, when we look at Mike Rogers, I know I just keep zeroing back in on this with the FBI, but the FBI with Crossfire Hurricane, with James Comey, with what they did to Trump, we have Mike Rogers central in so much of this machination, so much of this infrastructure to do with this. He was part of the disinformation scenario, okay, that had to do with the Intelligence Committee as Russiagate went forward. And there's a institution called RII, excuse me, RII, and I will link it below. I don't know why I can't say that normally. IRI, okay, especially the Beacon Project, okay, and this was started by John McCain, okay, and this is where you had the GOP and the CIA create this operation at a Beacon Project to censor social media in the US during the whole Take Down Trump campaign, but also they are the ones that went forward into, in modern times right now, what happened with Brazil, and now they're all in Brazil at COP20. Excuse me, COP29 just happened in Azerbaijan last week, and now the G20 summit is in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where Lula, of course, stole the election. The attempt to murder Bolsonaro, all of it, and that the Beacon Project, with whom Mike Rogers is very much involved, was at the center of creating this social media, uh, the shutting down of the free media, and of course all the assaults on X and Elon Musk, and the fines, the everything that ensued in Brazil, all the journalists arrested. And this is a worldwide operation by the Beacon Project out of IRI, where they basically go after any populace worldwide to do this censorship campaigns to keep the globalists in, and to create scandal after scandal against the populace. And that's what we would be looking at when we look at something like Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. And I've been really disturbed about this Marco Rubio thing ever since it happened. I am not for Marco Rubio. Don't trust him. I really wish that Trump would withdraw his nomination. Secretary of State is huge. It's not small. Look at Blinken and all the destruction he's done. He's been in charge of so much of that, the whole Trotskyite situation, the money laundering, billions and billions and billions and billions and billions. We have elites fleeing to Ukraine. So I don't know what the scenario is coming up of what Putin might do to Ukraine. But it's interesting because they've all bought land with the laundered money for entertainment purposes only. And it's, this is like this is like a blood libel situation for them, the Blinkens, the Newlands, all of them. And so, but Mark Rubio, as Secretary of State, he has, he'll be in charge of the US aid, and US aid is like $50 billion that goes to the NGOs that basically just assault the USA, right? Or create the globalist programs like what's being created at the G20 right now. So you'll have things like the all the UN and World Economic Forum missions of sustainability and all their complete baloney that shuts down the energy, steals the land, hobbles the rights of the people, creates censorship laws to jail and imprison people, will all be funded by USAID, because that is what gets funded by USAID. Rubio will be in charge of it. And one of the biggest things is here the National Endowment for Democracy, which I've talked about on this channel for 7 years maybe, which has to do with, of course, CIA operations within the State Department to take it out of official CIA intelligence means to go through the State Department to, again, fund all of this stuff to do with the color revolutions, the creation of all of these, NGOs, all these nonprofits that go in and foment your Antifa-style upheavals where they want to do their installation of leaders, create mayhem, etc. And so we are hoping that Trump will go in and end the National Endowment for Democracy out of USAID. He can do it with the stroke of the pen, right? As Kamala likes to say. And so we will see. Trump did put out a post on social media about having that there were vettings and decisions around the FBI director, and then deleted it. So it looks like things are on. We're going to see what's going to happen and see how it goes forward. So a long time to talk about this, but the issue is call 202-224-3121. Let your senator know that you support Kash Patel as FBI director, that you actually also do not want there to be some bribery scheme where they, trade that they'll let Gaetz get the AG confirmation if they put Rogers into FBI, because that means FBI as usual. Okay. It means scandals going forward into the Trump administration to, team up with, Morning Mika and Joe, who mea culpa down to Mar-a-Lago, can't believe it. The couple days ago to beg for, don't attack CNN, all of this. But we'll see what happens there. But I wanted to make sure that you heard about it. So a few things before I get into the deeper stuff to do with World War III and the Ukraine scenario and how they're trying to disrupt, possibly just the inauguration, disrupt Trump taking office, with there being a wartime scenario in the United States, whether it will be an FE within the United States. Interesting, with Kamala gone, with Biden gone, what could happen in the next couple days. Putin has said there will be retaliation for the strikes on Ukraine using ATACMs out of US and NATO, and signing the new nuclear first strike doctrine that he signed. But I will mention a couple things, which I just a little happy aside. I am very happy that Kari Lake did arrive at Mar-a-Lago today, and looks like she might be getting a role in the administration. I'm just love Kari Lake. I think she's amazing. I think she would honestly be a great president someday. And we'll see what's going to happen there. Obviously, something's going on that she was invited to do discussions. And we also have this interesting situation of after Matt Gaetz was named as AG nominee, a giant paper shredding truck, okay, was spotted outside the DOJ building. Enormous paper shredding truck where the DOJ is now just shredding everything, okay, totally illegal, totally treasonous, but there they go, they're doing it, right? And so RFK Jr. put out a great report. I'll link it below. Also talking about how ivermectin saves lives. We now have ivermectin cancer trials going on really successfully. All kinds of great, great things, as well as a new hydroxychloroquine studies that have come out to prove that it's always been great to fight all those viruses. But these are things, I'm going to link them below in case they might help your family members, especially people who aren't willing to listen, okay? But if they see these reports, maybe it will help them save their lives. And so that's important. So, okay, moving from there, I think we're going to talk about what's going on with World War III and this nuclear escalation. As we're hearing, it was Steve Quayle report that I listened to today, where he talked about that there is the Russian, the top officials have gone into a bit of a continuity of government mode right now, or basically war planning mode, and have left Moscow and left the Kremlin, gone to the Ural Mountains, and are hunkering in massive bunkers. And if you look at Annie Jacobson's book Nuclear War, you can really read how it rolls out in the U.S., like what it looks like in the rollout of once nuclear strikes start happening. Very great, Annie Jacobson's awesome. And so let's talk about a couple things. Okay, we have, in the leading up to talk about all of this with the nuclear war scenario, we have the situation of FEMA. They had their, we had Deanne Criswell testifying today before the House committee, DHS subcommittee, or the oversight committee. The DHS subcommittee met on the migrant child trafficking, and great things stated there about the drugging of the children, about how they're all enslaved labor. We don't know where most of them are, how the United States is giant, the Dem party, what's been going on in Mayorkas is a huge human trafficking, child trafficking, massive regime, massive thing. And so, but then we get this situation where the Biden administration, Mr. Wandering in the Rainforest administration, the Hayes, the Mayorkas, the Kamala Harris, the Blinken, the Newland, that they're asking for $98 billion now to go to FEMA. Okay, right now, after, claiming it's going to be to help the victims of what any catastrophe that's happened in 2023 or 2024. Okay, we have the massive fires in near Oxnard, California. Everything burned out. Recently, same exact style of the house is burned to the ground. The trees are still standing. And what happened in Wyoming with the massive fires there, and the FEMA installations that are going on near the Worth-Smith Air Force Base there in Michigan, okay, off Lake Huron, where I've been talking about it in the last couple of videos, where with the Kalita Airlines connected with the CIA, and massive amounts of invaders base, where they're just funneling through there, and the 375 containers that are put there by semis, 375, huge amount. A lot of people are bringing up, is this a Club K situation where those containers are filled with surface-to-air missiles that launch out of these containers that are, basically can be brought anywhere by a semi-truck? And if this, this $98 billion that they're asking for FEMA, claiming it's going to go to victims, I would beg to differ. Okay, as we look at the FEMA bases they're building in North Carolina, where all the destruction happened, and look at it looks like to me that they're staging something that has to do more with something that's coming more than something that happened. Okay, that's something that's coming. I'd been mentioning what people had told me about that there's like the huge dams in Michigan near that Air Force base that if collapsed would just flood everything. And they're finding that floods are really functional, okay, for getting down to clearing out of the people off the land, claiming the land, and then setting up these FEMA bases. And if these are forward military bases, are these going to be forward bases? And are there military weapons there? Those are the questions we want answered. Um, Putting it out there again, keep hitting up Marjorie Taylor Greene. We want to know what's in those containers at Worth Smith's Air Force Base, but $98 billion saying it's going to go to disaster relief. That is, of course, very squirrely, and I think FEMA should be taken down just completely. I hope Kristi Noem will dismantle FEMA, replace it with something that's actually for Americans, and basically get rid of it altogether, because we can't trust what they're going to do, especially right now as we're facing this war footing where at any moment Putin is this much away from declaring war on NATO or the USA for this assault on his on Russia, on Russian soil by US weapons using US satellites, and his new directive that he can have a first strike capability using nuclear weapons. And so I want to talk a little bit about some stuff that Steve Quayle had to say today, because it was so informative to do with this. And I also want to point out there that regarding this, we have Dr. Francis Boyle, who wrote the Biowarfare Weapons Treaty, International Treaty, that the U.S. Is supposed to be acting by, but doesn't. That is the head of creating biowarfare everywhere. But he wrote a resolution today to impeach Biden regarding this action in Ukraine. It didn't go before Congress. There was no congressional oversight, no congressional consultation, and of course, no nothing to do with anything to do with war footing that should go through Congress. That would escalate us to this degree in a war scenario with Russia. But he did write a resolution today to impeach Biden, and he put this forward as a bill to be acted on by what looks like Thomas Massie, who also put out the recommendation to impeach Biden over this. And this will be a bill that will go through the House Freedom Caucus. And so 202-225-3121, if you want to hit up your members and say, yes, impeach Biden. At this point, Biden isn't in charge. Okay, so it's not that that's not important. I do think it is. Just as a matter of ethics and principle, he absolutely should be impeached over this reckless move to give the go-ahead for Ukraine to use this. And even Zelensky, I don't think even wants this. I think they're all starting to run for the hills with all of their buckets of money laundered out of the U.S. To them to be rich beyond their wildest, dreams. But we're seeing that as this happens, that on the weekend, Francis Boyle also has a whole, a whole, he also wrote a great legal instrument already drawn up for Trump to remove the USA from the WHO immediately. Okay, remove us from any pandemic treaties. He has that drawn up legal instrument already ready, already given to the Trump team. Dr. Boyle, he of course was one of, they only choose one a year at Harvard to go through these programs set up by Kissinger to basically create the most brilliant mind for wargaming for the globalists. But Dr. Francis Boyle went the other way and was more of a freedom fighter. But he has an excellent, great legal mind. You have people like, Brzezinski in there and all this. Morning Mika's, father, who basically created the whole globalist, infrastructure doctrines, all of it. Well, Boyle has already put out this legal instrument for Trump to remove us from the WHO once again, once again. And so I'd say, Trump, get us out of the UN altogether, out of the UN altogether, and that nobody, no elected officials who are part of the World Economic Forum should legally be able to hold office. That is my opinion. So what Steve Quayle had to report today was that Saturday, over the weekend, there was huge, massive traffic of both military and private jets. Okay, jets. That there was just massive amounts of private jets and military fleeing the United States. He said something like 187 aircraft left the East Coast over the weekend. And according to Steve Quayle, he said that there was over 100 plus U.S. military members, high up ranking officials, including generals in the woke area, who left the USA, as well as huge amounts of 50 of the most prominent banksters and people in the know about what's coming soon. And so, what's coming soon? Okay, people knowing that something's about to hit the United States, figuratively or literally. And whether it comes from within or without, we know they could do it within and pretend it came from without. And is it to create some sort of emergency scenario, martial law scenario? We always find ourselves back here. But this is this escalation that came out of nowhere for Biden and NATO and the King's Privy Council and Atlantic Council and the Pilgrim Society to now okay this situation. We could have, Putin hit something like one of the underground or the, I think Quayle was saying like something like 97% of our aerial um, force, craft, etc., is out of the United States right now. So much of it in Germany, Poland, and Romania, and that if Putin's retaliation was to hit one of those bases, that would be a massive blow. That here in the U.S. we have very little military might right now, which is why we need Hegseth to get in as SecDef. And so I just call him Secretary of Defense Hegseth. And Austin, no oath, okay, his connection to what just happened. Let's hope down the line, we hear that there's a big list being compiled of court martials coming. And so we pray for that. We pray for the court martials. We pray for these people who who have committed treason and not completed their oaths on this country to be held accountable. I had a dream 2 nights ago. I had a dream, very, very vivid dream about tribunals. It was tribunals, and it was just a massive, ongoing, every day on TV, and people were just every day on TV watching criminal after criminal of the deep state, of the enemy from within in the United States, going to trial, being indicted, all the hearings, all of the actual trials. I dreamed this on TV in my mind that this was happening, and that it was happening in DC and ongoing for months. And this was my dream 2 nights ago. So prayers for that. And so continuing on, when we look at some kind of mass casualty event scenario, which I've been talking about on this channel for, a month or so, since we heard that they were doing these drills in DC where you had the Air Force involved, the military involved with mass casualty events. And then you started hearing the Dems saying, we want to have this continuity of government bill passed where the House of Representatives, because senators are already appointed if a senator dies or whatever. But in the House, it's different. You have to have an election, right? And what they wanted was, in case of a mass casualty event, that there would be, under COG, under continuity of government, there would be appointees, that new House members would be appointed. And so I've always been saying, what are they going to do in the Capitol? And of course, right now, both Senate and House is in session. People who are hanging at Mar-a-Lago, like, come back, do your jobs, right? You got to get it done. But then you wonder, like, are they about to do something to the Capitol as an FE or blame it on Putin or whatever? Could that be happening, or could it happen at Mar-a-Lago, where so many of these people are hanging out? And in my personal opinion, I think Trump, it's time to end the Mar-a-Lago party. It's, I'm not just saying it's a party. Obviously, they're doing deep, deep, deep planning, and I hugely support it. But things are spicing up. They're getting even more hairy, and I'd rather see, Trump in a unnamed bunker somewhere. I'd rather see him and have everybody kind of disperse for whatever is going on, because as we're seeing, according to Steve Quayle and his sources, that there is the fleeing of top military officials and top banksters out of the country just over the weekend, right before those missiles were shot from Ukraine um, at Russia yesterday. That now something seems to be coming. Okay, and so we don't like it. We don't know. Quayle said that that a lot of these people are fleeing to Dubai, and we know that the UAE just surpassed. I think it became like the second largest holder in actual gold reserves in the world, and they also just joined BRICS. Okay, the UAE is like on standby in BRICS, and you know, was it Clement? The prophet Clement, before he passed, and he said that Trump will get a second term. He'll get a second term. He will then, but his second term will be extremely intense. Like there's going to be he'll be dealing with a catastrophe of a nation really, really in trouble. And it's not that we're not already in trouble, but um, my understanding was that it will actually be worse than we are at right now. And so that's why I say the prayer vigils from now until and after, but from these next 61 days, every day, ongoing prayers in groups for altering what the demon possessed globalist rats are doing, and see if we can shift that, with God's aid. And so, yeah, so that's very interesting there. And also what Quayle had to say, and I will link this video below, really great video, but he said that there's 75 million pounds of food. We've been seeing all the murder of the chickens and the slaughtering of the livestock, claiming this or that with the virus crap, all the deep state baloney. Um, and I think today they just said, oh, all these people are dying from E. coli from the organic carrots, right? And what Quayle says is that there's over 75 to 90 million pounds of food that have been taken off the shelves, out of the consumer market due to these bogus recalls. And he says that it's all going to underground storage facilities to do with, in Missouri and Kansas, all the underground facilities to be for whatever's coming. That there is some stockpiling to do with why they're creating these FEMA military forward bases, possibly in North Carolina, in Michigan, uh, that it is to basically store up, along with the the carbon capture, the carbon dioxide. They're planning to basically keep themselves going for quite a while underground. And so this is all just stuff I want to put forward. I don't wish it. I pray every day for things to for Trump to easily come in. The entire world is praying for Trump to easily come in. The entire world is awakening, and also just sighing a huge relief that Trump has won. Whether it's now the Trump dance, the boom 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 boom, everybody, the NFL, the UFC, all the fighters, whatever. Um, that's great. That's fine. We can Trump dance all along, but let's boom 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 the prayers, right? Let's get the prayers be paramount, and and um, and also taking action with the 202-225-3121. no, I don't want the ethics report on Gaetz released. You know, Mike Johnson has said that he doesn't support it being released. He supports the confirmation of Gaetz. All of it is just scandalous, ridiculous stuff anyway. And the thing is, Mike Rogers, as FBI director, will make more and more and more of that happen. Okay, more scandals, more of the FBI just getting in and entrenching in for what will be the next 4 years of just attacking everybody in the Trump administration with these bogus scandals. You know, when we look at John Brennan coming out on MSNBC saying that Tulsi Gabbard, you know, she's so awful, Russia agent. I hope that she sues the pants off of him. He's the top, of course, the 51 bogus agents organized by Blinken to say that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. Him just coming down saying how Tulsi Gabbard isn't qualified of a you know, a national security clearance. You know, just, you know, it's so interesting, you know, on the left, like, you know, the Joy Reid and AOC going up on MSNBC and saying that Tulsi is pro-war, she's pro-globalist war. And, you know, Joy Reid saying, yeah, of course, you know, I mean, she was really for war, you know, in Syria. You know, when Tulsi Gabbard literally fought in Syria for the USA in her deployment, and it in her whole stance now is these useless wars, these endless wars. Let's stop these endless wars. And as DNI, I will gut intelligence, and I will, you know, gut like just, you know, half of the agencies gone, 18 agencies that all replicate each other. They all are redundant, and most of them are turned inward towards us. Okay, in this apparatus of surveillance, censorship, persecution. You know, just total dismantling of the constitutional republic. So yay for Tulsi Gabbard. And of course you even had Maddow last week saying that Tulsi Gabbard isn't qualified to even be she shouldn't have security clearance to be a Walmart greeter. Okay, first of all, attacking the people that work at Walmart. Second of all, totally disgusting, right? And they, you know, they can attack women all the time when they're not the women they like, especially women of color. They can just go right after them. And Tulsi Gabbard never plays the woman of color card ever. But that's what Maddow said, that Tulsi Gabbard shouldn't get the security clearance to be a Walmart greeter. Okay, this is a woman who is right now in charge of a large National Guard. Um, you know, whole huge thing. And then she's also lieutenant colonel, and she's amazing, and she's against globalist wars, and she's against the neocons, and that's why they hate her so much. And Maddow is on the hook. She's on the hook. You know, Trump has been so clear in his videos, we're going to come after, and he just put that new guy in as head of the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, who is absolutely going after the use of broadcast news to deliver disinformation. And of course, they're going to have to repeal Barack Obama's whole thing that he put in play for propaganda. But Maddow, you know, she's got her horse farm there in upstate New York, and her and her wife, and you know, they might want to just start watching some reruns on Netflix of Orange is the New Black, right? Orange is the New Black, because you know, she might be kind of I don't know, the new orange woman bad, shall we say, coming forth soon. And so there's so much more. You know, Hegseth has hinted at court martials for all of the woke military apparatus. You know, Mark Milley might want to, maybe he was on one of those planes that just left the country. Don't know. But I might leave it there. There's so much more to say, as always. Russia has the best, you know, the best missiles basically in the world. The U.S. has really hobbled because of everything given away in Afghanistan, everything sold across the world to come back and harm us. and we need Hegseth and we need Trump to get in and come back to make the USA protected again. So what happens between now and then is paramount, and I won't keep babbling on about it. But what also Quayle did have to say as well is that you had major top Russian military officials arriving in Cuba last week, that they have this underwater base at Cienfuegos Bay in Cuba. And remember, Cuba's all their power went out, their massive power outage last week, and it's still ongoing. And that there was this massive, huge Russian military arrival in Cuba. So that's close. And they have the Poseidon nuclear sub drones with 100 megaton nuclear warheads. And of course, those are said to be sitting off the US coast, right? Off the continental shelves. And so, very interesting there. We will see. We will see. But the thing to remember is that, you know, Trump is collecting an incredible team, and we need to let him know what we think about them. For the most part, I think we're thumbs up. I'm very no to Marco Rubio. I don't trust him, and I definitely don't want Mike Rogers as head of the FBI. So again, action, action, action. One last thing I will say before going is we have Nancy Mace, right, out of California, out of South Carolina, putting up the bill to ban men and transgender men who call themselves women. The new person that just came in as a congressperson, to ban them from the women's bathrooms, okay, at the House, at the Capitol. And so that's going through. And you have the same thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene coming out and saying, no, no chicks with dicks coming into our bathrooms. And it's so interesting because that used to be the thing. You know, we have these small women-only spaces. They're called bathrooms, locker rooms, places where women can feel safe and be without the threat of any male violence, male weirdness, just normal privacy. And this whole trans thing has made it so that the invasion of these small, safe women's spaces are a threat that constantly hangs out there. And so that was great. So, you know, give her an Attagirl if you want. You can go to billblasterapp.org and give Nancy Mace a little thumbs up for that, and let your House members know you would like that bill to pass, right? And there's so much more besides, but we're going to let it here go at 52 minutes. Sorry if I rambled on a bit, but I think, you know, we're looking at what could be an FF, you know, in the next while, and I pray it doesn't happen, but they sure do keep setting the stage. And meanwhile, while they're setting up their shadow cabinet and all their, you know, Mark Elias and Norm Eisen are setting up all their different nonprofits to funnel tons of Alex Soros money into fighting the Trump cabinet and the Trump administration. You have Ann Neuberger. She was deputy NSA under Biden. She is lobbying CEOs in defense, okay, to get reverted to civil servant status, okay, to leave the DOD, leave intelligence positions and go be civil servants, kind of SES style, to basically burrow in, the term burrow in, so that they can basically create a war on Trump's administration, basically to try to stop the purge of intelligence by Kash Patel, by Ratcliffe, by Gabbard. Okay, that's what they're going to try to do, and so we have to, you know, Democracy Alliance, Democracy 2025, Transition Integrity Project, all of it are just trying to burrow in. We have Democracy 2025. Sounds like Project 2025, doesn't it? But no, this is the other side here. New York Times reporting that Mark Elias has 800 lawyers now working on 600 legal lawsuits against the Trump administration, 280 organizations with lawsuits being prepared. So they're pushing it, whether it's the shadow cabinet where they're going to have a cabinet that basically everybody in the administration will have a Democrat shadow cabinet, which is what they do in the UK in what is a parliament, not in a republic, and they're instructed to do so by the head of the Pilgrim Society, Lord Robertson, to basically create this shadow cabinet in the United States, and that's what all those people sent over by Keir Starmer to do 3 weeks ago have been boiling up in their ideas on how to combat Trump, how to stop him from firing the SES members, all of it. Whew. So it's a lot, but we are going to hit those. We're going to hit that quantum entanglement with God and pray, pray, pray. Make ourselves warriors for the Prince of Peace. Make the calls. Do the actions, and also get really involved in what's going on in your local area to do with your local actions going on. Because while all of this is heating up, you can be sure that if you're in an area that's Dem run, they're going to start trying to push through the most nefarious of these World Economic Forum, Agenda 2030 plans through your city and town councils, etc., and of course your school board councils. So we'll just tarry on, and we'll pray for President Trump, his family, his administration, for this country that God put his hand on this country and the world that is fighting the Luciferian New World Order, that we will have success, and that any FEFEs that are coming or threats of war be thwarted, and that there be basically a way for Trump to connect with these world leaders in this time between now and the inauguration. So we will leave it there. Thanks so much for watching. I will mention my great sponsor here at the end. And I just want to say, if you found something in this video that seems like added value, please support the channel. I could really use the support. There's ways to do so below. Monthly, Give, Send, Go is great. Hit me up with a little Bitcoin right now. I love Give, Send, Go because it's a Christian-based platform, but I have another way to support monthly, and I appreciate it. And I also want to mention my great sponsor, C60evo.com. C60evo.com/YAFTV. This is the most potent carbon-60 ESS60 molecule that has been proven in studies to do fight enormously radiation. I guess that's kind of an important thing at this moment, being used in the alternative clinics to do with big C, huge with fighting inflammation, and great for workouts, but also great for brain activity. It goes in through the blood-brain barrier and cleans out your neurons. This is fighting against graphene that comes from the bioweapon. Carries it out of the mitochondria. So it is a very, very potent, amazing thing. And c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. And you can also, if you subscribe to the channel, I mean, if you support the channel, you get 15% off. And I also give away 2 bottles of the capsules every month to different subscribers randomly, and people who donate to the channel. So that's also a way to possibly get a free bottle of C60 Evo. So you are free. I will see you next time. And pray, pray, pray. You are free.